So now to this. Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present tonight's You Can't Make This Up award for the most ridiculous X post imaginable, and the trophy goes to, drum roll, we're drum rolling, the DNC.
In a now deleted masterpiece of the self-own, the DNC page tried to blame President Trump for skyrocketing grocery prices. Too bad they can't actually read the chart they posted, because their own graphic shows clear as day sky-high prices under Joe Biden's 4 years. And it's not like people don't remember under Joe, food prices surging more than 20% collectively, eggs alone soaring 237%.
Also, kudos to Trump's rapid response team being like, these are the Biden years right here. But do we even need to remind everyone that inflation topped 9% in 2022, smack dab in the middle of Joe Biden's economic belly flop?
Joining us now with reaction, former Council of Economic Advisors acting chair, Tom Philipson. Tom, I find this absolutely delicious, what they did. But big picture is they posted a graphic when people, when they go to the grocery store, know how much food prices have increased, know how much eggs and steak and milk and all of the items they need for subsistence skyrocketed under Joe Biden's 4 years in office. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm wondering what they're smoking over at DNC. This was ridiculous. I mean, it's a larger problem, I think, with Democrats. They want to see the world how they want it to be as opposed to how it is. This is just the latest example of it. You know, they claim that tax cuts of the Trump administration is for the rich, even though the poor did better under the first term. They claim tariffs are going to be inflationary, even though that's caused by fiscal and monetary policy. They think defunding the police does not increase crime. And they think communism helps people get out of poverty as opposed to capitalism. It's just the latest example of this worldview where they would sort of want the world to be a certain way and therefore think that's the way it works, but it doesn't. It's just the exact opposite many times.
Yeah, and this isn't some ragtag operation, right? We're talking about the Democratic National Committee, where you've got all these different departments, you know, political, research, communications. There's typically some sort of approval process in getting these things out. So this is a big misstep for them. But Tom, we've also seen some positive polling for the president on the economy. The Wall Street Journal, 47% of Americans rated the economy as excellent or good. That's the best rating in the Wall Street Journal's surveys dating back to 2021. What do you think's behind that?
I mean, trust the markets on this rather than the pundits, and actually a lot of economists who are sort of very left-leaning economists. I mean, what we're coming out now with the tax cuts that are being permanent and also the other tax cuts, those changes are way more important than the tariff issue, which is sort of a tariff hysteria about a small problem relative to the economy. But 85% of our trade is between U.S. citizens alone, trading with ourselves. So that the big, beautiful bill is much more important for our economy. And we see this sort of scare tactics of the media about the tariffs have now calmed down. People understand it's not going to be a big deal, and people are getting a lot more optimistic about the future.
So you mentioned tariffs. President Trump came out with this idea today. Listen.
We're thinking about that, actually. We have so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate, but the big thing we want to do is pay down debt. But we're thinking about a rebate. We're thinking about a rebate because we have so much money coming in from tariff that a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be very nice.
You buying it?
I don't know. I think, you know, we're kind of taking advantage of our kids for a long time with such a high debt level that we have that they sooner or later are going to have to pay back. I'm much more for deficit reduction, meaning take care of the kids in the future rather than taking care of the adults today, essentially. Now, kids don't vote, so that tilts you a little bit more towards transfers towards those who vote. And that's why we have a lot of government services towards old people, essentially, who pay a lot of attention to what's going on. But I do think I wouldn't go for this. I would go for, we damaged the future of our kids enough. Let's pay them back.
Tom, we also want to get you on this. So where's the beef? Well, President Trump says the beef will be coming from America. President Trump announcing on Truth Social, in part, after many years, Australia has agreed to accept American beef. The other countries that refuse our magnificent beef are on notice. Tom, now that the beef is squashed, what does this mean for ranchers and the economy?
Well, it's good news. I mean, we have a pretty good agreement since 2005, 20 years ago with Australia, but there's a lot of non-tariff barriers like this is being lifted now. So basically biosecurity standards prevented our beef to going in there, and now they're being lifted. So it's another example where, the Trump's threat of lack of free trade at home is now generating more free trade abroad, essentially. I think that's coming through Vietnam, UK, and now Australia. I'm not so, psyched about the beef per se, because U.S. prices are much higher than Australian prices for beef. So it's going to be a tough sell over there.
But our herds are they're rebuilding our herds here in the United States. So hopefully we get price relief here. Tom, before we go, the United Auto Workers Union is pissed about the Japanese deal with the 15% import tariff. I suspect that the Japanese automakers just build more cars here, build more factories. But how does this get worked out with the UAW? Because they've had a great protectionist, the chicken tariff. It's with 25% tariff on the imports of light trucks. Does that get shaken out?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some adjustment to that. I mean, obviously, if they import stuff, it's going to be at higher rates than the Japanese. So that's going to be adjusted, I think, going forward in one way or another.
Thank you for responding. I was just curious because I know I can ask you anything. Tom Philipson, great to see you.
Thank you.
Be well, sir.
Thank you.